All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about your business, your real estate business, and I'll tell you a little bit more about writing a book with a gentleman that's been around for a long time, wrote E-Myth and Why Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. This is something I applied to my real estate business, and I'm going to just tell you what we're going to talk about today is why your real estate business isn't working as well as you thought it would and what to do about it. So I'm going to bring 34 years of experience into this. And I call this selling 100 homes a year because after I get done with this, I think you all will see that you really might have you do have 100 homes a year that are selling that you have in your fingertips. So that's what I hope you're going to walk away with today is just even if you could get 25, 50, 75 homes a year, I am going to show you where you actually have 100 homes a year or more sitting in front of you right now. So today's objective is just talking about applying the E-Myth principles that Michael Gerber wrote over 35 years ago in E-Myth for entrepreneur myths, why small businesses don't work and what to do about it. I recently wrote with him E-Myth Real Estate Agent. And I'll tell you how we met here, but in that book, I basically tell you how I applied the E-Myth real estate principles to my real estate business, the E-Myth principles to my real estate business, and built a business that sold over 100 homes a year, more than 20 consecutive years, and have now, just through some changes in the market and stuff, turning my business over, I have reclaimed that 100 sales a year by just getting back into the system. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go through. But in this book, Michael and I basically take the E-Myth book, and he'll talk about a chapter, and then I give you the real estate version. He'll talk about a chapter, I'll give you the real estate version. So I'm going to today's session will be overviewing the book a little bit, but we're really going to focus on the database and showing you that you have 100 sales a year. I believe every single agent has 100 sales a year sitting right in front of them. So in the book, in chapter 1, we kind of set up the story, and this will tell you how I met Michael Gerber, probably one of the biggest, most well-known author icons of the world today on small business. He was named Small Business Guru by Inc. magazine, I think it was. So anyway, my story, what I talk about in that first chapter is just the pressures of real estate. When you first get into real estate, they don't teach you what you need to know in real estate school. They teach you how to pass the test, and then you get thrown out there into the world. It's like, hey, just pick up the phone and call. And then when you get going in real estate, if you can make it past the first 3, 4, 5 years, it starts to be about family. It starts to be about having work-life balance. They talk about that a lot. Real estate's a very roller coaster business. And unfortunately, for probably over 60 to 80% of the real estate agents in business today, they don't know if they're going to have sales next month. They don't know if their bills are going to get paid. There's not a consistent flow of business. It seems like we're always out hunting. But that's what the real estate industry teaches us, to go find the next deal, find the next deal, find the next deal. What I'm going to share with you guys today is those next deals are all right in front of you, and you don't have to go look for them. Now, how Michael Gerber and I met was an unexpected situation that came up. I've been selling for 34 years. I was just about to launch a book that says how to be successful in real estate, and I didn't have anything really bad happen to me to write this book. And then sure enough, what happened back in March of 2015, my wife was on her way to pick up a client, an elderly client that lives here in Kansas City. And she was going to pick her up for closing and take her to the closing because she didn't have any family here. And we had sold her property across the state. She lived in Kansas, and we had to bring her back to Missouri. Unfortunately, she didn't make it to our client's house. We were partners then, and she had a head-on collision on a major freeway. By the way, this is really close to the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium. You might know who they are, and maybe you're enjoying our 2025 season so far. If you're not from Kansas City, we're not. But this is a one intersection where there's just a lot of accidents, and somebody must have clipped her, spun her around. She had a head-on collision. she was in a Nissan Juke. This is a very small car. It's just a little bit larger. I don't know if you know what a Nissan Juke is, and if I can interact with you. Should I do that or not? Oh, let me silence that. I don't know if I should be interacting with you or not. Anyway, I'll keep going. So if you know what a Nissan Juke is, where's my mute? There we go. Sorry about that. It's a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger than a go-kart. Well, the car did what it was supposed to do. It kept her alive. She did have a head-on collision. She was unconscious. They took her to a hospital. It was probably a couple hours after the accident before they could figure out who she was. So what ended up happening from that? She came out of the accident okay. She recovered. She was on crutches for 2 weeks. Her hip socket had been damaged from the dash hitting her hip or leg and smashing it through her hip. So she's 43 years old at this time and had hip surgery. She was supposed to stay off that hip for 2 weeks. Now, mind you, she is the organization behind our real estate team. We're selling 100 homes a year when this happened. And now she's out for 2 weeks on crutches. At this time, we had one assistant helping us in our office, and I had one buyer's agent that had just come back on our team. So I want to kind of put into perspective what I'm about to share with you on these systems in this business and doing 100 sales a year. We had one assistant, a showing agent, myself, and Sonia. So she was out for like 2 weeks. Unfortunately, about 2 weeks after she got off the crutches, she didn't wake up one day. And that morning, she had a lot of trouble sleeping after the accident, and a lot of insomnia and things like that. But on this particular day, July 23rd, or June 23rd, June 23rd, 2015, she was in bed snoring. Kind of sounded like a trucker a little bit, but it was snoring good. So I didn't bother her, but about 10:30, my daughter came down and said, "Hey, why is Sonia not awake yet? It's not common for her to not be awake." And we tried to wake her up and we didn't get a response. Now she's breathing. My office is right off of our bedroom, and I'm kind of watching her, because it was a deep snore. So I kept watching her, and I thought, yeah, we better try and wake her up. And she didn't wake up. At that time, we called 911. The ambulance came to pick her up. They got her all stabilized. The paramedics didn't act like anything was weird. They got her stabilized. They got her in the ambulance. All the kids were in the car. We're about to go to the hospital. And we sat there for like 10 minutes in the driveway. We didn't know what was going on. Then all of a sudden the ambulance takes off. So we follow them. We get to the hospital, and the guy is shutting the doors as we're coming up, and they're at the emergency room. And he looked like he had seen a ghost. And I said, "Was she okay? Was the ride okay?" He said, "Well, you better go inside." And at that point, we found out that her brain was seizing. She wasn't conscious. They didn't know what was wrong. So they had to induce a coma and put her into a coma. The reason I tell you that story is Sonia and I, for 20 years, built this team to 100 sales, and it was a machine and just running the systems. And at that moment, the systems were going to have to carry our business because she was in a coma. And growing up, hanging out with the top producers, top business leaders, they always say you're the average of the 6 people you hang around. I had focused those 20 years on hanging around productive people, productive agents, applying what I was learning from them, creating systems. So at that time, what I wanted to tell you is that I never expected anything bad to happen. And what I got out of this was, because I had been told by my business coaches throughout my career, my friends, family, hanging around with producing people, that they stay out of their comfort zone. They stay out of their comfort zone. What happens when you're in your comfort zone? And it is, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, real estate is a business that you can get very comfortable selling 15, 20, 25 homes a year and make a good living. But you got to get out of your comfort zone, because if you're there and if you're kind of on a roller coaster, when something bad happens, it sucks you down, right? So it'll suck you down below comfortable. And now you're trying to deal with the situation and you're uncomfortable because you're being pulled out of your business. I was out of my business for 5 months. When I say out of my business, I had taken Sonia to another town 3 hours away, Lincoln, Nebraska, because they had the best brain injury hospital that I could find from any resources, talking to doctors. Where can I go get her out of this? And that's where we took her. So I was 3 hours away for 5 months in a business generating 100 sales a year with one assistant and one showing agent. And I'm the listing guy. So I came back 1 day a week to handle the listing business. The buyer's agent handled the showings. The assistant ran the systems, right? So in that time, that 5 months that I was gone, I sold 97 homes that year, 97 homes. And for 5 months, I was out of my business and I had 2 people run it. I didn't have a big monster team. So you got to get out of your comfort zone, stay above your comfort zone, because that's where I was. And I had to get reminded of that a lot throughout my career. But when something bad happens, it sucked me back down to comfortable. I'm telling you that now because I don't remember how my house payment got made, how my car payments got made. During that time, I was in that hospital room for 5 months, watching everything that was happening, trying to get her to react to anything that we could get reaction from. And those systems carried that business, and we sold 97 homes without me there. So that was the big realization that the systems really do work. Now, the other part of that is she passed away in November of 2015. We never did get her out of the coma. Do I need to shut my door? Is there a dog barking in the background that's bothering this video?
You're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually, I would shut the door. I'll just edit this part out.
Okay.
All right.
Of course, my wife would let my dog bark up there. Okay. So for 5 months, I'm in another town 3 hours away. I came back one night a week. We stacked the listing appointments, and I'd go back and try and get her out of the coma. So what I'm telling you is that when you have systems in place, when you do this stuff and you get out of your comfort zone, you get sucked back down to comfortable. She had passed away. We had to let her go November of 2015, the hardest decision we've ever had to do. And I had 4 daughters, and everybody was a part of that decision. But we realized that she really was not reacting to anything. When you hear the word vegetable, I mean, she was literally there. We don't know how much of her brain was gone. So if she were to come back and not be able to recognize people, not be able to hug people, kiss people, her nickname was Smooches. So if we couldn't get her back and she was in any kind of that other state, we knew she would not want to be alive. And everybody decided that together. I definitely didn't want to make that decision. But here's the point, is that with systems in place, while all that was going on, my business was still running so that my bills could be paid, my house could be paid, my electricity sale. I got 2 girls in college. The college bills were paid. So I could focus on that. And then when she passed, it allowed me to still live life and not miss my next opportunity, because about 6 to 7 months later, Lynette, my current wife, crossed paths. Guys, I had every right in the world to just curl up on the couch and go into a hole. I mean, a wife of 20 years who's your business partner, that we're selling 100 homes a year every year through this whole time. It's a big business, right? A good lifestyle. The kids did everything they wanted. But I had every right for everyone to leave me alone and curl up on my couch. And I remember one day I did an ST plunge on the couch. I was just overwhelmed. And my coach brain kicked in, because I had been coaching people. I had been asked to start teaching, training, coaching, which is why I'm standing in front of you today. Not because I need to stand up here and hear myself talk. I'm up here to share with you that you have a business in front of you that can be 100 sales a year. And I'm going to show that to you. So my coach brain kicked in and said, what are you doing, Brad? You've got kids you need to take care of. You can't just sit here and curl up and go into a hole. You got responsibilities. You got a team. You got clients. You got all this stuff. And so I popped right back up and I went to work. And had I not done that and had those systems in place that I knew were happening, I would have missed Lynette crossing my paths. What's even more funny is we had actually crossed paths a year prior through another friend. She went to a concert with me and my wife, Sonia. Never saw her again after that until a year and a half later, about 5-6 months after Sonia was gone. She showed back up in my life. And luckily, I was back into business, doing the system, what it told me to do, and I didn't miss it. So let's get into the stuff, because this is what I want you to hear. So you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but it's a simple way to get out of your comfort zone. I promise you that. So this is what Gerber talked about in E-Myth. If your business isn't growing, it's what? Dying, right? And what he also talks about in E-Myth, Entrepreneur Myth, the books that he wrote, is that you put systems in place that people run. And I'm going to tell you right now, coaching for over 25 years, the top real estate teams, top loan officers, while I'm running a business selling 100 homes a year, I'm still the listing guy in my business, right? So while I'm coaching these people, I'm figuring out that a lot of people build their businesses where they have a people-run business and they use systems to help those people. Gerber will talk about in the book, it's a system-driven business that people run the system. And that's the transformation that I'm going to share with you today. In fact, hang tight, because I'm going to give you 4 simple steps at the very end of this. 4 simple steps that will double or triple your business if you even just get it partway right. Okay, so here's our 3 focus points for today. Gerber talks about the 3-legged stool. There's a client fulfillment system, the client capture system, and then the lead conversion system. And the client fulfillment system is where you take care of your clients and deliver great service, hoping that they will refer people to you and you'll get leverage off of every deal you do. But most people are still in that lead capture and lead conversion system. And you probably have gotten internet leads, things like that, leads from all over. In fact, you're just out, you hear about somebody, a lead here, a lead there. You need a system to capture that lead. And then you need a system to cultivate it so you can convert it into business later. Now, keep in mind that as I go through this, your mind is going to want to stick where it's been forever, and that is to find the next deal, find the next deal, find the next deal. Well, I'm going to share with you that your 100 deals a year are all around you because everybody is a potential client, but we get focused on the next one buying and the next one selling. Everybody you meet is moving. Everybody you meet is moving at some point. So here's the problem. There's chaos in our real estate business, in our real estate world. They didn't teach you how to run a business in real estate school. In fact, you would have to go get a college degree to learn how to run a business. And we do everything as a real estate agent. We're putting signs up. We're balancing our checkbook. We're doing the marketing. We're doing all this stuff. Even if you've gotten to the point where you're building a team, at one point you did everything. You got to schedule the walkthroughs, do the inspections. And as you build a big team, you might be able to leverage some of that stuff out, but it's chaotic, right? And when you build a team through leverage and you hire a person, do you have enough business to really validate and make their income day in, day out, whether you just know they're paid forever because you have a system that churns predictable business? So here's a best concept that I've had on this. Think about if it's summertime and you've got construction, road construction going on in your marketplace, in your area right now where you live. You got a 2-lane highway and they expanded to a 4-lane highway. Within a summer or two, they put it all back under construction again and take it to a 6-lane highway. Guys, do you know that in real estate business, you can just build a 20-lane highway right now? Just build a 20-lane real estate business. I'm sharing those systems with you in the E-Myth Real Estate Agent book, how I built these systems that I had a 20-lane highway. I hung out with producers that were selling 300 homes a year every year. So I looked at their systems. I brought those back to a guy that was selling 100 homes a year. I put these systems in place, and I'm only using 4 lanes of the 6, 8, 10-lane highway. So I can process 100 sales a year, very hands-on and very like relational, right? Because I have a 20-lane highway and I'm only using 4 or 5 lanes. I could literally sell 150 to 200 homes a year with maybe a part-time assistant, and it would not drive me crazy, make me pull my hair out or be bald. So check my time here. I want to make sure I get all this information to you guys during our allotted time. So the cool thing about systems is they provide consistent results. They are predefined. So this is where you, even though we may think in our real estate business that one client might take an hour to explain something to, another 10 minutes, another 2 hours, no Fortune 500 company runs like that. So you are going to predefine what the perfect buyer process is, the perfect listing process is. I take you through that process, right? So you build those perfect processes, and that becomes your predefined perfect system. It's repeatable, it's automatic, and it happens. In fact, I will tell you the one thing about this system that I'm going to share some of these things with you today is they are automated systems. But what I really figured out that a lot of people don't talk about is I implemented into those automatic systems the personal touch reminders. I'm not talking about an AI. I'm not talking about a pre-recorded video that says, hey, I was thinking about you on your birthday. It's got personal touches built in throughout the system. And what I will tell you, my personal experience that I can share with you is the more automated your business is, the more problems you will have somewhere along the line where somebody's getting something that they didn't expect to get, somebody's getting forgotten. You need a human eyeball on an automated system. So I have touches built into mine. All right, let's get back to the database, because this is where you have 100 sales a year sitting right now. If you're hearing this, I am telling you, you have 100 sales in the next 12 months happening in your database. And if your database is a spreadsheet or it's your phone contact list, all that stuff, you want to get that into a system so that you can capture these 100 deals that are going right past you. They're happening. I'm telling you, they're happening. So you have a database or a list of people who already know you, like you, and trust you. Those are the three things that we need when we get a client on the phone to do business with us. Yet I don't understand why the whole industry keeps wanting to talk to strangers, or like when somebody joins a team or whatever, it's like, are you going to give me leads? Are you going to give me internet leads? Why do you want to call and talk to strangers all day when you have, I'm going to share with you just how many people you have that already know you, like you, or trust you, or all three, right? So that database is people that like working with us. The other thing is that when you're thinking about marketing, what's the better return on investment, right? Is it mass marketing that you throw out 10,000 mailing pieces to a neighborhood? What's that return on it? Or is it the personal one-on-one? When you meet somebody one-on-one and you get to talk to them, do you have a higher conversion rate from everybody you meet one-on-one or from mass marketing? I can tell you the marketing world shares that maybe less than 0.25% of the industry, or 0.25% return on mass marketing. We're talking billboards, advertising, think of all that stuff, right? And the money that it costs. But every day we're meeting people. And when somebody says, hey, my sister's thinking about moving, and I meet her one-on-one, the conversion rate of the people I meet one-on-one is way higher than mailing out and seeing how many people call me back. So how you do this, and this is where I'm going to give you a chicken exit right now. If you are afraid to know that you have 100 sales happening right now, you might want to get away from here, because I'm going to show you where the 100 sales a year are right now. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Okay. I'm going to ask a question. How often does the average person move? And the audience is going to throw out the answers, like they're going to say 5 years, they're going to say 3 years, they're going to say 7 years, they're going to say 10 years. All those answers come out, and this is in crowds and crowds of people. Every time I ask this question, that's what I get: 3, 5, 7, 10. What I don't hear is the average person does not move every 20 or 30 years. Can we agree on that, right? So let's just walk through this. For every 100 people that move every 7 years, I'm just going to grab the number in the middle. So if you think it's every 3 to 5, these numbers are going to be bigger, more business. If you think it's 10, the numbers are going to be a little less. But what I think we can all agree on Does anybody think that number's got to be any higher than 10 for the average person in your entire community? The average. So if we're at 7 and that's the middle, that means 1.5 people are moving every month. That's 15 people over 12 months. If you had a list of 100 people, and the easy math on this is 100 divided by 10 years is 10 people moving every year, right? So for every 100 people you call and talk to, keep in mind that of those 100 people, 10 to 15 of them are moving in the next 12 months, but they're not moving and they don't know they're moving right now when you're talking to those 100 people. They are going to be sometime over the next 12 months they will move. So you have to technically call the same 100 people every single month to get all 10 or 15 sales, right? So using 7, we're saying 15 sales in 12 months. That's about a sale per month. And that's with the same 100 people all year long, not a different 100 people. So what a lot of people do is maybe over a month's time, you talk to 100 people and you get a deal. But then next month you talk to a different 100 people and you might get a deal. And the next month, a different 100 people and you might get a deal. But if you talk to the first 100, added the second 100 and added the third 100, and you did that every month, now you should be getting 3 deals. But we're not talking to everybody back there because they weren't buying or selling then. Well, they might, 2 or 3 of them are now. If you take most agents' databases, say 1,000 people, if I ask people how many people are in your phone, we're going to go through this exercise in a minute. How many people are in your phone? How many people in your social media? How many people do you send cards to at Christmas time? All that stuff, the people that you know. Most people can create a list of about 1,000 people. Look at this number, you guys. If we're agreeing that everyone moves 3, 5, 7, 10 years, then every 7 years, for the 1,000 people that are sitting in a spreadsheet in your phone on your social media right now, 142 of them are moving every 12 months. That number cannot be disputed. It can't. It's 142 sales. That's 12 sales a month. Every single agent, if you're not feeling right now that, oh my gosh, out of the 1,000 people who have heard my name or I've seen somewhere in my lifetime, man, if you've been in your community more than 10 years, 20 years, you know way more than 1,000 people. There's 142 people moving every year. When I coach top agents, somebody that's been in business for a while, if you're listening and you've had a big team and you've been in business for a while, a top agent is putting in 5 people a day to their database, wherever that source is coming from. Now, what I'm talking about is adding in 5 people that you have a connection with, that you're going to start, the people who know you, like you, trust you. I'm not talking about internet leads. That's a different source. That's the mass marketing. We're going to move into the more one-on-one marketing, but we're going to capture, cultivate, and convert these people into closings where you got the first 100 the first month, you got the second 100 the second month, adding that 100 there, 300, another 100 the third month, adding those other 200 people on, and you're going to strategically and systematically stay in touch with them. Guys, we're talking in 5 years. If you had 1,000, if you did 5 people a day, every day, 5 days a week, taking weekends off, that is, it's actually 1,200 people that you would put in your database if you focused on meeting and connecting with 5 people a day that you could write a handwritten note to. Now, I put 1,000 on the example because you're probably going to miss a month or two somewhere in there. But if you run those numbers, 1,000 people a year, every year for the next 5 years. How many of you are getting out of real estate this year? How many of you are getting out of real estate next year? You think you might be in real estate 5 years from now. Here's your plan. 5 people a day, every day, focused on relationship and staying in touch with them will turn into 714 transactions over a 12-month period. That is 60 closings a month. All right, so we're talking about 714 sales a year after 5 years in real estate. That's a crazy business, right? So here's how you get there, because that could seem like unrealistic, but I'm telling you that starting with the 5 a day, 5 days a week in 5 years, that opportunity's there. Can you imagine if you messed this thing up and only caught half of them or a quarter of those deals, right? So that's what I'm sharing with you. This is real world. This is where I live and have lived in my real estate business for the last 30 years. So I kind of call this make the phone ring again, because the other type of this, when you're focused on 5 a day and you're creating relationships and you create the systems to stay in touch with people, your phone rings with business. I'm telling you, it rings. You won't see me often, if at all, sitting there grinding out lead generation calls for hours and hours, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. I've set the system up to where you're top of mind and people call you. So when they think of real estate, they need to think of you. When they think of what's the value of my house, they need to think of you. When they drive past an open house, they need to think of you. So this is like branding and marketing that you've always heard about, but it's doing it on a more relationship-based level. So let's play a branding game. I want to just give you an exercise to play here to see that I really am telling you that this stuff works, right? So if I'm going to give you a product, I want you to name as many brands as you can think of. In fact, if you're watching this or listening to this, write them down, right? And normally what I'll do in a live setting is I'll ask a person to stand up. Nobody else will help them and we'll just hear what they say. But I want to see what you guys come up with. So if I'm going to give you a product, I just want you to start yelling out as many brands as you can think of. Don't write them down. Just yell them out as fast as you can think of them. So if I say tennis shoes, go. What brands are you thinking of? Say them out loud as far as you can go. Keep going. All right, I'm going to give you another one. So how many of you thought Nike, right? Reebok. And then you might have gotten 2 or 3, and then you kind of started stalling out. I want you to name as many as you can. Let's try it again with a different one. Potato chips, go. Name as many as you can think of. Now, see, I know a lot of you right now, you were thinking Lay's, right? Somebody probably said Doritos and Fritos too. But did you get 10 or 20 or 30 different types of potato chips? Okay, I'm going to give you one more. This is an easy one. I'm going to give you toothpaste. Go. How many brands? Go. How many of you are like, you said Crest, Colgate, and you might have got one more. What you just experienced was the NAR statistics that 76% of all sellers talk to one agent when they list their house. You have to become the Nike, the Lay's, and the Crest in everyone's mind that's met you to be the next appointment. And when you do that, you will only be the only person they talk to 3 out of 4 times. That's what we're talking about in this branding game. So here's just a simple graphic that I pulled from a book that I read where it was talking about the Mets and the haven't Mets and all this stuff. What I really call this is more about the not connected and the connected. And a lot of agents in this outer ring here, you will see where that's the general population. You're going to do billboard advertising, postcard mailings. You're sending stuff out there to the general population. You're trying to get somebody to call you back for business, right? As you target a group, you might like focus on a specific neighborhood and be more on purpose. That's your targeted group. But those two groups, they convert at a 50-to-1 ratio done under several studies that people have done throughout our industry. It means for every 50 people, you might get one piece of business. It's a 50-to-1 ratio. Now that is a 2% conversion rate. Internet leads, I can hear it all day long, 2%, 2%, 3%, maybe 1%, right? That's what mass marketing does. But as you get somebody to call you on something, and then the fact that they might do business with you, or starting with the people that you know, those conversion rates are 12-to-2. Remember when I said earlier, when you're talking to people one-on-one, you're converting more of those people than mass marketing to 1,000 people. So that conversion rate is actually in the studies has been 12-to-2. Guys, if you take 1,000 people that you're going to market to, but if you focused on them and put them in this inner circle and you said, I'm going to call 5 a day, every day, 5 days a week until I get through all 1,000 people, you can stay in the 50-to-1 when you do your mass marketing conversion rate. Or if you talk to all 1,000 people, which would take you a year, right? But remember, you're going to be in the business for 5 more years. If you focused on those 1,000 people and you talked to every single one of them and connected and stayed in touch, 12-to-2 from the same group of people, Guys, this is 6 to 8 times more business. That's why I say you can do this, what I'm talking about, and you can mess it up and double and triple your business because it actually can generate 6 to 8 times more business. These are real numbers. I've tracked them for my 34-year career. The last 24, 20, or 30 years that I've been doing this has generated 100 sales a year. So this is another friend of mine that had a perfect example of why it works this way. There's a lot of things happening here. There's an impact arrow that gets bigger as you go to the top. And there's an influential zone and an informational zone. Now, most real estate agents, which is why this is a pyramid, start at these bottom three. They're doing advertising, they're doing direct mail, they're doing electronic email, video, all this stuff, social media touches. That's what most people are doing. That is what he calls the informational zone. You're providing information, trying to trigger somebody to call you and get more info. It also, if you look, has the least amount of impact. It means you have to do it to a lot of people, and sometimes it costs a lot of money. Now, as you meet someone, meaning you could write them a note and you know where their address is and where they live, and you could drop a note and say, hey, it was great talking to you today. As you move them into that, the reason why the people that you come in contact with in person are more influential because you're influencing them. They're meeting you, they're talking to you, they earn your trust, they know you, they like you. So the impact is a lot bigger. So what I call this is not met and haven't met. It's more like connected and not connected. And I'm going to challenge you for a minute. How you become top of mind. And this was a study done by Don Hobbs here at EXP. He did 8 touches in 8 weeks in a neighborhood with a fictitious realtor. And they had, when they interviewed that neighborhood after marketing to them for 8 weeks, he had over 50% of the people said they would use this realtor that doesn't even exist to use to sell their house. He had come top of mind by 8 touches in 8 weeks, was top of mind. Now, what we also know from other studies is that if you stay in front of them 33 times a year, 34 times a year, 36 times a year, that doesn't matter. But it's not 50 times a year and it's not 20 times or 12 times a year. You stay in touch more consistently, you will stay top of mind so they don't forget about you, which I've experienced that. And if you don't keep in touch with them over a year or two, you will lose that Nike, that Lay's, that Crest position. So right now, I'm going to challenge you that your entire database, anyone that you have not talked to in the last 30 days on your list of people, had a two-way conversation with them, is probably not a haven't met, but you're disconnected. They are not connected, and you are going to continue for your entire real estate career to have a 50-to-1 conversion rate. In fact, if you're listening to this right now, I don't care how big your database is, take the number of the people, divide it by 7. That's how many deals you have in front of you. And I bet you're on a 50-to-1 conversion rate right now. So if we're going to go back in and get on purpose, we can turn that into a 12-to-2 return. So in chapter 7, 8, and 9 in the book, I talk about management systems. Well, systems are the things that manage us and get us to do the things that we need to do. In this particular case, we're talking about custom campaigns or action plans. So when I meet someone, if I met you face to face today and we connected, I'm going to put you in my database and start my 8x8 plan. That 8x8 plan is going to remind me, it's going to send an email out. It's going to send a social media touch. It's going to send something out in the mail, but it's going to have 2 phone calls in there that it's going to tell me, pick up the phone and call them. And this would be actually the very first step of that is to send a handwritten note that just says, hey, it was great meeting you. In fact, I talk about the notes. We'll talk about that on your 4-step plan here in a minute. But I send that note and that feels good and gets me top of mind. Then when my phone call reminds me to call them 4 weeks later, as they've gotten 3 other pieces in between, now my phone call pops up. They hear my voice again. It anchors me back in that number 1 spot. Some more pieces drip out over the next few weeks, and then another phone call on the 8th week. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. Guys, I'm not using real estate scripts here. I'm just talking to people, connecting, saying, hey, I was thinking about you. Real estate will always come up, especially after you've got your real estate stuff out there. They're going to ask a question here and there. And if they're one of the 1 people that are moving this month out of the next 100 people you meet, They're going to bring up real estate. You don't have to. So that's where you start using your scripts and getting them to all that stuff. But you don't have to use a real estate script to just go connect with 5 people a day. Understand, keep doing what you're doing now. It's producing what you're producing. What I'm encouraging you to do is move into the relationship piece and just layer that in front of your current business and start putting 5 people in a day, connecting with a handwritten note. This is what it might look like. So this is a lead accountability system that I set up for myself and my team. I did have a team of 9 people at one time. This is how we kept the database feeding every day. I would put my team member on a campaign that would send her reminders to feed the database. She'd get this email in her email every day or two, and it would say, hey, did you connect with anybody? Here's the link. Is this your past client? Is this a new client? Is this a lead you converted? Now, when she would click on one of these links, it would go into my database and start the campaign, the follow-up campaign. So there, I'm going to show you some other ones here. This one is an internet lead, for example. I'm just kind of blowing through these real quick because I want you to understand the power of systems. Have you all had an internet lead before? Yeah, I'm sure you have. Have you called that person? Yeah, most of the time you don't get them on the phone. And you make 2 or 3 or 4 attempts. There's nothing lazy about most real estate agents. They're not lazy. But you get an internet lead today and you call them, right? And they don't answer the phone. So you make a note to call them a little later or maybe call them the next day, right? Well, tomorrow, another internet lead comes in. You try to call them. They don't answer the phone. So now you got to remember to call them later or tomorrow. But now you got to call your other one back from yesterday. So you call them. Move 3 days into the future. Another internet lead comes in. You try to call them. Don't get them. Now you got to remember to call the person from yesterday and the person from 3 days ago. You end up just losing track. All of those people in this system will get a call from me every day for the next 3 days. And if you scoot down the line, you see a call 3 is 5 days after the plan starts. And there's even one more call at 11 days after the plan starts. If I called them 3 times in 3 days, and I called them on the 5th day, and I called them on the 11th day, now I'm just sending them some emails. And once it gets to the end of the plan, me personally, I'm done with this internet lead. If I've made that many attempts, now they're going to go back into a bulk follow-up plan that's just going to email them for the rest once a month for 12 months with maybe a phone call in there, but I don't even do that. You could do that if you like to follow up with old leads from a long time ago, but I am getting in front of them and 1 or 2% of them will convert. Here's the difference. See, I'm focusing on people that I'm meeting face to face. I'm not focusing on business, trying to convince a stranger to do business with me. That will always be a 2 to 3% conversion rate. So I get those out of my system and keep taking in new leads, right? But most of the time, my business is coming from the database. Here's what it would look like if I met you today. I would start this plan and I would just put you in that link that says connected, and it will tell me on my dashboard in my database, hey, did you send the handwritten note? 1 day later, it's going to send out my resume. It's going to print out my team resume, tell them about me, what I do, and that's going to go in the mail. So they're going to get that 3 days, or actually probably a day behind the handwritten note. The handwritten note goes in the mail the day. This letter prints out. It goes in the mail within the next day or two. 8 days from now, they're going to get a letter or an email. And this one's just showing some of the old systems. I used to do all mail in the beginning. That's why I converted a ton. So those phone call reminders, everything. And then when it gets to the end of the plan, it tells me to start the next plan. Now, I'm not going to go through the details of all these sheets and what I send, but I'm telling you, add some mail in your follow-up because they get to touch it. This is not something I would send in an email as a big bio about my team. I'm going to send that in the mail. They're not going to sit there and read an email or just a link to click and go see it on the web page. So I actually mail that to them in their mail. Now, once that touch ends, I put them on a 33 touch. It said, start the next plan. Well, the next plan now that I have 8 touches in 8 weeks on top of mine, they think of real estate, they'll think of me. Now they're going to get 33 touches a year for the rest of the year. And that's just a mix of emails, newsletters. We have some mail like talks about our letters. We got the free moving truck, 100 ways to tell your children you love them. We have like chicken soup from the soul story letters in there. If you actually saw my plan as a real estate agent, you might think there is no way this guy sells 100 homes a year for 20 something years. And the fact is If you go back to our earlier numbers, 99% of the people I'm sending this to that I have put in my real estate database, sent a handwritten note to, 99% of them are not moving right now today. So when they get these letters, I don't have to send them all real estate stuff. I just need to send them stuff that they'll actually open up and glance at so they can see my logo and remember that I'm in real estate. So in chapter 15 and 16, we talk about the clients want us to keep in touch, stay in touch with them. They want to know what's going on. Have you ever had a client that had a contract on a house? 2 or 3 weeks after the contract was accepted, they wondered if they even had a contract on the house. It's like nothing. There's all this stuff that happens when you first get it accepted. Nothing happens for a month, month and a half, sometimes 2 months. And then all of a sudden at closing, we want them to jump out of the seat and go do all this stuff again. During that time, they don't know what's going on. So in the book, I talk about how to communicate with people. There are campaigns and action plans from the time I get a contract accepted until it closes. That plan's in there. It tells them what's going on all the way through. And then this is a great way that we assign all this stuff too. So there's all these steps that happen from the time I get a new buyer until they find a house. They're getting listings. They're going out and looking at houses. From the time we list a seller's house until the time it closes. If you're in a market where days on market's starting to increase, they're getting discouraged because they thought they were going to get 20 offers. Having a plan with all these different communication marks built into it will help them keep in touch. And as I add people to those items, so I'm going to take the admin-y stuff, or maybe it's even a phone call from our assistant in the office. I can take one of those phone calls and assign it to her. So this is how I break out our plans for everything from contract to close, from new buyer till they find a house. We have all these plans running. The thing about a campaign or an action plan, what I figured out is it starts and you can't turn it off, and everything happens. It's not cascading. It's like, once this step happens, then do this step. No, this is our perfect system. And in 45 days, we close your house. This is everything that has to happen. So it is set in stone. It's a little bit of a mind shift for people when they're getting into these systems. Got just a few more minutes left, and I'll show you those 4 things I was talking about. We talk about time systems, how to set these systems up. So I'm going to tell you right now, the hardest thing for anyone to actually get this, what I call a simple, easy system, it is very detailed behind the scenes. It's got every action step that needs to happen to provide a Disney experience, right, for my clients. It's got everything built into it, and it all has to happen when it's supposed to happen. So, but saying that, the time to put the plans together is what is the hardest part. But once I put a contract to close plan together, I don't even need this yet, right? If you start adding 5 people a day, 5 days a week, you're going to build up your business slowly. You're going to find one here, one there, because the first month you only have 100 people and you're not top of mind yet. You're still staying in touch with them. By month 6, you're going to have 600 people in your database, but you're only going to have the first 100 that you're now starting to be top of mind. The second month of the 100 people are now you're getting a little closer to being top of mind. So it has to build up. So as you start to get more business, you get to grow into a business of 100 sales a year. Once you get to 3, 4, 5 sales a month, you will need these systems to keep track of everything. So you get to build them as you go, not build it and then try and get there. Start with your 5 a day. If you just add 5 people a day, connect and write them a handwritten note, I can tell you from experience over 25 years, 30 years of coaching top agents, your business will double and triple if you just do those 2 steps. The idea will be to build it up to where these other systems are in place. So I schedule a couple days a week, an hour at a time, to put these plans in place and start tracking my business. And then lastly, we're getting towards the end of the book here. We talk about, once you're putting it all together, when you get these systems in place, you can go do the things you want to do. Last month, I had 14 sales. I still went to Royals baseball games. I went to my Chiefs games. I live on the lake. There wasn't a time where I had to give up my lake time or miss a kid's birthday or anything like that. So here's your 4-step plan. We're going to wipe it out right here. It's so simple. You guys can all do this. if you have any idea of what I've said and you see this opportunity that there really is, if you got a list of 1,000 people, and if you did 5 people a day, every day, 5 days a week for the next 12 months, you're going to have 1,000 people that you've reached. I'm telling you, 100 of them are moving every 10 years, or 144 are moving every year if they're moving every 7 years, which means that 200 of them are moving if they're moving every 5 years. That's the business that's right in front of you. Start with your social media list. Go to Facebook, scroll all the way to the bottom, grab a notebook and start writing down everybody's name, because next time you come to Facebook, they'll all mix up again and you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Get every name written down in there. Go to all your other social medias. Keep writing those names or screen names down so you can go in and find out who that person is. They're following you and you're following them because you've connected. Open up your cell phone list, your contact records, the phone numbers that have come in, the phone numbers that have gone out. Write all these names in your master list. And this is going to be your master list to now go find phone number, address, and most importantly, the address. I meant email. Phone number and email. Email is not that important here. We got to make a phone call and drop them a handwritten note in the mail. And if you have a list of 1,000 people and you think you might not get addresses for everybody, you don't have phone numbers for everybody, you will get enough of them by just searching tax records, all the social media stuff today. Heck, AI, you could probably just put in, hey, I need the address, phone number, and email for this person that lives in this area and all that. And it's probably going to find all that stuff. You can find enough of those that you can start seeing a huge result in your business. So once you get the list, then you're going to start contacting them. Dial the number. If you want, this is your 4-step Reconnect plan. So I said this is your list of people that you already know or might be in your database. I'm going to suggest step 1 of the plan is to send a letter out. Once you find their phone number and their address, put them in your database and start the campaign. I'll show you exactly what the campaign looks like. But the first step is a letter that says, hey, I was thinking about you. Haven't done a great job of keeping in touch. I'm going to call you in the next few days. Now the system says 3 days later, after that letter goes out, pick up the phone and call them. So that's what you're going to do. It's going to show up on your task list and say, hey, call this person. And then right behind that, or let me say something about the phone calls. So here's what a lot of people do. They're like, what script should I use? There is no script for this. This is a reconnect call to get you reconnected with them to go, hey, I just sent, you don't even have to say you sent the letter. You're going to try all this stuff and make this more difficult than it needs to be, I promise. All you have to do is call them and go, hey, I was thinking about you. How you guys doing? I realized I haven't talked to you in a while. You don't even need to reference the letter. You probably didn't read the letter. The letter was more for you to know you needed to call them. But when people call, we've been trained to go, hey, I'm just calling, see if you know anybody buying or selling real estate. What do they usually say? 99.999% of the time, I don't know anybody now. Okay, do you know anybody else that is? 99% of the time, no, I don't know anybody. Okay, well, if you think of somebody, let me know. Guys, switch your phone call here, right? The phone calls are about strengthening your relationship. The real estate stuff will come up while you're doing that. Hey, what's up? How you doing? What have the kids been doing? I've been following you on social media, blah, blah, blah. Ha ha. Great hearing your voice. You let them do most of the talking on this first Reconnect call. In fact, you're probably going to figure out that you may have been mailing them stuff and somebody's dead, right? Passed away. Kids moved out. They've gotten a divorce. Your database is out of whack. It is out of whack. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go on record saying you are naturally keeping in touch with about 10% of your database. 10% of your database is generating 1% return on your database for your business. And that's where you get stuck in 10, 15, 20 deals a year. But people have passed away. Do they like dogs? Do they like cats? I mean, just things to have conversations with, to reconnect with people. The script is forward. This is old school stuff. Family, occupation, recreation, and then dreams or goals. And what I do on that one is, if you get that far, talk about their family. How's work going? What have you guys been doing for fun through all this crazy world we live in, right? And if you get to it, it's like, hey, if you need anything, do you have anything you need done around the house? I've got a lot of connections, resources, whatever. Or, how's everything going in your house? That's where they'll bring that stuff up and go, yeah, my husband's been working on the house like a dog, trying to fix everything that's broken. Okay, I don't need to tell you, it's time to start using a real estate script. Oh, really? Are you guys thinking about moving? That's how it goes. Then you drop the note. That's the most magic part. No I, me, or my in the note. Drop a handwritten note, short, quick thing, just says it was great catching up on the phone. Glad you answered the call. And then you start the next plan. Guys, if you start at A and go to Z through your entire database and your entire notebook, I promise you at 5 a day, 5 days a week, that's going to be 1,200 people over the next year. It's going to be 6,000 people in the next 5 years. 6,000 people moving every 10 years is 600 transactions a year. Every single one of you have it sitting right in front of you. You got to get in touch with your people and start today, because it will take about 6 months or a year to get that be top of mind and to get to the people that are all moving. But in 1,200 people in the next year, if you stay in touch with them and your second year out, you add the next 1,200 people, the first 1,200 people are now at 120 people moving. If you capture 60 of those, you're going to do 4 or 5 deals a month. So treat your database like a gold mine. You do a banker who owns a bank will not just go to an hourly wage person, hand them the combination to the safe and go, hey, here's the combination to the bank safe. Once you go back in there, a bunch of the dollar bill bands popped off and dollars are falling all over the place in there. Will you go clean those up? Somebody you just hired for $8 an hour from, what do you call those job search sites, right? No, you're not going to do that. And a lot of people turn their database over to somebody on their team to clean up their database. You need to clean up your database. 5 a day, write your notes, and enjoy the eMyth system that you've got coming in here. So hopefully you got some good stuff out of today. These are just ways to take some notes. I hope you took a lot of notes. You can track me down if you have any other questions. So thanks for coming in. I hope you got some good information.